What if everything you believed about growing vegetables was completely wrong? Every spring, gardeners all over the world do the exact same thing. They head to the nursery, fill their carts with seeds and seedlings, spend hundreds of dollars, and then spend weeks preparing beds, planting, watering, and waiting. And then winter comes. Everything dies. And the next spring, they do it all over again. But what if I told you there's another way? A way that nature herself has been whispering about for centuries. But most gardeners have never heard? There's a secret category of vegetables that refuse to play by the annual rules. These aren't your typical plant and pray crops that vanish after one season. These are perennial powerhouses. Vegetables that behave exactly like fruit trees. You plant them once, and they come back year after year, producing food without you lifting a finger to replant. Some of them will produce for 5 years, some for 10, and a few. They'll outlive your home, your car, and possibly even you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 21 vegetables can turn your backyard into a permanent food factory. And here's the thing that gets me excited. Number 15 through 21 are so rare that even master gardeners don't know they exist. Hey there, garden friend. Welcome back to Golden Senior Gardening, where we believe in growing smart, not hard. If you're new here, I'm genuinely thrilled you found us because today's video is going to flip everything you thought you knew about vegetable gardening completely upside down. And to my returning viewers, you absolute legends. Thank you for being here. You're part of a community that refuses to waste money on things we don't need to waste money on. Now, before we dig into these incredible perennial vegetables, I need to ask you a quick favor. If you're serious about building a garden that works for you instead of you working for it, tap that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Why should you bother? Because we drop practical, money-saving gardening secrets every single week. It costs you nothing, and it helps this channel reach more people who need these tips. Plus, the community we're building here is something special. Alright, let's get into it. Here's what's really happening in the gardening world right now. We've all been taught this story since we were kids. Vegetables are annuals. You plant them in spring, they grow in summer, you harvest in fall, and then they die. Next year, rinse and repeat. It's exhausting. It's expensive. And here's the truth nobody wants to admit. It's completely unnecessary for a huge portion of what you could be growing. Think about it. Apple trees don't die after one harvest. Neither do blueberry bushes or grapevines. They keep producing year after year, decade after decade. So why do we accept that vegetables have to be different? The answer is they don't. There's an entire world of perennial vegetables that work exactly the same way. You plant them once, you're patient while they establish, and then they reward you with harvests for years, sometimes decades, without ever replanting. These are the vegetables that will transform your garden from an annual expense into a permanent food source. And I'm about to show you exactly which ones deserve a place in your yard. Let's jump in. Vegetable number 1. Asparagus. If there's a king of perennial vegetables, asparagus wears the crown. This elegant plant is the ultimate long-term investment. You plant the crowns once, and in return, you get fresh, tender spears every single spring for 20 to 25 years. Let that sink in. 2 decades of asparagus from one planting session. Now, asparagus does ask for something in return. Patience. The first year, you don't harvest anything. You let those ferny fronds grow and feed the roots. The second year, you take just a few spears. But by year 3, you're harvesting armfuls of spears every few days for weeks on end. Asparagus loves full sun and well-drained soil. Once those roots go deep, this plant becomes incredibly drought-tolerant. It's like putting money into a savings account that pays you back in vegetables instead of interest. Bonus tip. Plant asparagus near tomatoes or basil. They make excellent companions. The tomatoes help repel asparagus beetles, while the basil improves overall plant health. It's a partnership that keeps giving. Vegetable number 2. Rhubarb. People always argue about whether rhubarb is a fruit or vegetable. Here's the truth. Botanically, it's a vegetable. But in the kitchen, it acts like the tangiest fruit you've ever tasted. Rhubarb is ridiculously tough. It survives brutal winters, laughs at frost, and comes back every spring with those gorgeous red and green stalks ready for harvest. A single rhubarb crown can produce for 15 to 20 years with minimal care. Here's what makes rhubarb special. It actually needs cold winters to thrive. While other plants suffer through the chill, rhubarb is down there in the soil, building strength for an explosive spring comeback. If you live somewhere with harsh winters and think perennials can't work for you, rhubarb proves otherwise. One important note. The leaves are toxic, so don't eat those. But the stalks? Pure gold for pies, jams, compotes, and even savory dishes. Bonus tip. Rhubarb grows wonderfully near garlic and onions. They help repel common pests while the rhubarb's large leaves shade the soil and retain moisture. Everyone wins. Vegetable number 3. Jerusalem artichokes. Also called sunchokes. These beauties are one of the most underrated perennial vegetables in existence. Above ground, they look like cheerful sunflowers, tall stalks with bright yellow blooms. But underground, that's where the magic happens. Jerusalem artichokes produce clusters of knobby tubers that taste like a cross between a potato and a water chestnut. Nutty, slightly sweet, and incredibly versatile in the kitchen. Here's the best part. Once you plant them, you'll never need to plant them again. These tubers multiply on their own every single year. You dig up what you need, leave a few behind, and next season they come back even stronger. They're drought-resistant, pest-resistant, and happy in poor soil. In fact, the bigger challenge with Jerusalem artichokes is stopping them from taking over. That's a good problem to have when you're trying to grow food. Bonus tip. Plant sunchokes near corn or beans. The tall stalks support each other, and the beans fix nitrogen in the soil, feeding the sunchokes naturally. It's a mini food forest in one bed. Vegetable number 4. Egyptian walking onions. Now this is where things get wonderfully weird. Egyptian walking onions aren't your ordinary alliums. These plants have personality. As they grow, they produce small bulb clusters at the top of their stalks instead of flowers. When those top bulbs get heavy, the stalk bends over, touches the soil, and the bulbs root themselves, creating a brand new plant. That's why they're called walking onions. They literally migrate across your garden one step at a time. You plant them once, and they never stop multiplying. The underground bulbs, the green stalks, and those quirky top sets are all edible. The flavor is mild with that perfect onion bite. These onions thrive in cold and hot climates, need almost zero care, and will survive drought, neglect, and just about anything else you throw at them. Bonus tip. Plant Egyptian walking onions near carrots or beets. The onion scent naturally repels root maggots and carrot flies, protecting your underground crops without chemicals. Vegetable number 5. Lovage. If celery is the reliable friend who always shows up, lovage is celery's overachieving cousin who shows up and brings 3 extra dishes. Lovage tastes remarkably similar to celery, but it grows as a massive perennial herb that returns bigger and stronger every year. You can use the leaves, the stems, the seeds, and even the roots. One plant is typically enough for an entire family because it grows impressively large. Here's what sets lovage apart. It's incredibly hardy, requires almost zero maintenance, and can live for decades. There are lovage plants out there older than most people reading this. Plant it once, and your grandchildren might still be harvesting from the same plant. It's perfect for soups, stocks, salads, and anywhere you'd use celery. But unlike celery, you'll never have to replant it. Bonus tip. Grow lovage near fruit trees or berry bushes. It attracts beneficial insects like parasitic wasps that protect your other plants from pests. Think of it as a bodyguard that feeds you. Vegetable number 6. Sea kale. Sea kale sounds exotic, but it's surprisingly easy to grow. This perennial produces tender shoots in spring that taste remarkably similar to asparagus, but with a slightly nuttier, more cabbage-like undertone. What makes sea kale special is its ornamental beauty. The blue-green leaves and clusters of white flowers look stunning in any garden, so it pulls double duty as both food and decoration. Sea kale is drought-tolerant, pest-resistant, and will produce reliably for 8 to 10 years. It's one of those rare plants that looks gorgeous, requires minimal effort, and feeds you beautifully. Plant it in a sunny spot with good drainage, and you're set. Each spring, those tender shoots emerge ready for blanching and eating. Bonus tip. Sea kale pairs wonderfully with thyme or oregano planted nearby. The herbs attract pollinators and repel cabbage moths, keeping your sea kale healthy without sprays. Vegetable number 7. Good King Henry. With a name like that, you know this plant has history. Good King Henry is an old-fashioned perennial vegetable that's been grown in European gardens for centuries. And it's finally making a comeback. Here's why it deserves a spot in your garden. This single plant gives you 3 vegetables in one. The leaves taste similar to spinach. The young shoots taste similar to asparagus. And the flower buds are edible too. It's like nature decided to be extra generous. Good King Henry tolerates shade better than most vegetables, making it perfect for those partially shaded corners of your garden where nothing else wants to grow. It establishes easily, spreads gently, and keeps producing for years. Bonus tip. Plant Good King Henry near fruit trees or in the dappled shade of taller plants. It thrives where others struggle, filling gaps in your garden with productive greenery. Quick pause here, garden friend. If you're watching this and realizing there's a whole world of vegetables you never knew existed, do me a quick favor. Tap that like button right now. It takes half a second, costs nothing, and it tells the algorithm to show this video to more gardeners who need this information. And drop a comment below telling me which perennial vegetable has surprised you the most so far. I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing which plants excite you. Alright, let's keep going because we're just getting started. Vegetable number 8. Turkish Rocket. If you love arugula's peppery kick but hate how quickly it bolts and turns bitter, Turkish Rocket is about to become your new best friend. Turkish Rocket is essentially perennial arugula. It produces those same spicy, peppery leaves, but instead of fading after a few weeks, it keeps growing season after season. In mild climates, you can harvest leaves almost year-round. The plant dies back in winter in colder regions but returns faithfully every spring. The leaves are slightly more robust than annual arugula, perfect for salads, sandwiches, or wilted into pasta. The best part? Turkish Rocket is essentially unkillable. It tolerates poor soil, inconsistent watering, and general neglect. It just keeps producing. Bonus tip. Interplant Turkish Rocket with strawberries or spring greens. The rocket's peppery compounds help deter slugs and aphids, naturally protecting your sweeter crops. Vegetable number 9. Tree collards. This one absolutely blows people's minds. Tree collards are perennial brassicas that grow into small trees, producing edible leaves year-round in mild climates. Yes, you read that correctly. A vegetable that grows into a tree. Tree collards can live 10 to 20 years, reaching heights of up to 10 or 12 feet. You harvest the leaves, and they just keep producing more. The flavor is smoother than regular collards, less bitter, more earthy, and the leaves stay tender even on mature plants. Because tree collards don't produce seeds, they put all their energy into leaf production. You propagate them from cuttings, which means every tree collard alive today is essentially a clone of plants that have been kept alive through cuttings for potentially centuries. You're not just growing a vegetable. You're growing living history. Bonus tip. Plant tree collards near basil or nasturtiums. They repel cabbage worms and whiteflies while attracting pollinators to your garden. It's beauty and protection in one. Vegetable number 10. Dobbinton's kale. Most kale varieties are biennial, meaning they focus on seeds after year 2 and decline. Dobbinton's kale breaks that rule completely. This variety is truly perennial. Like tree collards, it doesn't bolt a seed, so all its energy goes into producing tender, delicious leaves. You can harvest from it almost year-round, and it keeps going strong for years. The leaves are sweet, tender, and packed with nutrients. Perfect raw in salads or cooked in any dish where you'd normally use kale. You propagate it from cuttings, which means one plant can become an entire kale forest if you want. It handles cold weather brilliantly and is virtually pest-free once established. Bonus tip. Dobbinton's kale thrives when planted near alliums like chives or garlic. The sulfur compounds help repel common brassica pests, keeping your kale pristine. Vegetable number 11. 9-star perennial broccoli. For broccoli lovers, this is a revelation. 9-star produces multiple small broccoli heads instead of one large one, and it keeps producing for about 5 years without replanting. The heads are creamy white or light green, with a flavor that sits somewhere between broccoli and cauliflower. Each plant produces a central head first, then smaller side shoots keep coming for weeks. 9-star is slower to establish than annual broccoli, but once it gets going, you're harvesting broccoli every spring without the annual replanting dance. Bonus tip: interplant 9-star broccoli with dill or chamomile. These herbs attract beneficial wasps that prey on cabbage loopers and aphids. Your broccoli stays healthy, and your garden smells wonderful. Vegetable number 12. Chives. Chives are so common that people forget they're an incredible perennial. Plant chives once, and they'll divide, multiply, and spread throughout your garden forever. You get fresh, onion-flavored greens almost year-round. The purple flowers are edible too, adding color and mild onion flavor to salads. And the flowers attract beneficial pollinators throughout the season. Chives require absolutely zero maintenance. They handle containers beautifully, work as garden borders, and serve as companion plants for dozens of other vegetables. They'll literally outlive you if you let them. Bonus tip: plant chives in a ring around the base of fruit trees or tomato plants. They help repel aphids and can deter fungal diseases in neighboring plants. Vegetable number 13. Garlic chives. Similar to regular chives, but with a garlic flavor instead of onion. The leaves are flat rather than hollow, and the flowers are white instead of purple. Garlic chives are just as perennial and low maintenance as regular chives, but they're more heat tolerant and actually prefer warmer weather. You can harvest the leaves, the flowers, and even the flower buds. They naturalize easily, meaning they'll spread and fill empty spaces in your garden on their own. Free garlic flavor forever. Bonus tip: plant garlic chives near roses or other ornamentals. They repel aphids and Japanese beetles while adding edible elements to your decorative beds. Vegetable number 14. Horseradish. Horseradish is the perennial that simply won't quit. In fact, your bigger challenge will be keeping it from taking over your entire garden. Plant one horseradish root and you'll have horseradish forever. Even the smallest piece of root left behind after harvest will grow into a full new plant. It's essentially immortal. Those pungent roots clear sinuses, add fire to sauces, and contain powerful natural compounds. Horseradish tolerates poor soil, handles drought, and requires absolutely zero care once established. Just be strategic about where you plant it. Consider giving it its own contained bed, because once it decides it likes a spot, it's staying. Bonus tip: plant horseradish near potatoes. It helps repel potato beetles while both plants thrive in similar conditions. Just don't plant them too close, or the horseradish will start competing. Vegetable number 15. Sorrel. Most people have never heard of sorrel, which is a genuine shame because it's one of the easiest and most rewarding perennial greens you can grow. The leaves have a tangy, lemony flavor that's perfect for salads, soups, and sauces. Sorrel is virtually indestructible. It grows in partial shade, tolerates poor soil, handles drought, and comes back faithfully every spring for 6 years or more. You plant it once, and you have fresh salad greens from early spring through fall, year after year. It's like having a salad bar in your garden that never closes. The tangy leaves also make an incredible sauce for fish or chicken. This is one of those secret weapon ingredients that elevate everything. Bonus tip: sorrel grows beautifully under fruit trees or in the partial shade of taller vegetables. It fills spaces where lettuces would struggle and keeps producing through mild summers. Vegetable number 16. Watercress. If you have a consistently moist spot in your garden where nothing else thrives, watercress is about to become your hero. This peppery green loves boggy conditions. Stream edges, pond margins, or just that corner of your yard that never quite dries out. Where other vegetables would rot, watercress explodes with growth. It's packed with nutrients, has a distinctive peppery bite that elevates any salad, and it grows like crazy once established. You keep harvesting and it keeps growing back. In mild climates, watercress is truly perennial. In colder areas, it self-seeds so readily that it effectively behaves as one. Either way, you plant it once and harvest forever. Bonus tip. Create a simple water feature or bog garden specifically for watercress. A shallow container sunk into the ground with constantly moist soil gives you fresh watercress year-round. Vegetable number 17. Morina. This is where we enter the realm of truly extraordinary plants. Morina is often called the miracle tree, and for good reason. Once planted, Morina grows incredibly fast. We're talking 10 to 15 feet in a single season. The leaves are tender, nutrient-dense, and taste like a gentle cross between spinach and matcha. They're packed with protein, iron, calcium, and vitamins. In many parts of the world, Morina is used to fight malnutrition because it grows where other crops fail. It loves sunlight, survives drought, tolerates poor soil, and regenerates itself after every harvest. The more you trim, the more it grows. It's like nature designed a living renewable food source that rewards you for cutting it back. In tropical and warm climates, Morina is truly perennial. In colder areas, many gardeners grow it as a dieback perennial or bring it indoors. Bonus tip. Plant Morina near citrus or other tropical fruit. They share similar growing conditions and create a layered food forest that maximizes your space. Vegetable number 18. Chayote. Chayote is the climbing vegetable that behaves like a fruit tree. Also called vegetable pear or Christophine, this vigorous vine can cover an entire fence or pergola in a single season. The fruits are crisp, juicy, and mild, like a cross between cucumber and apple. Each plant can produce hundreds of them in a good season. The young shoots and leaves are edible too, tender and delicious when sautéed. Here's the magic. Once the roots establish, chayote becomes a true perennial. The root system stays alive underground, sending up new vines each season. With just one plant, you harvest baskets of vegetables for years. It loves sun, doesn't mind poor soil, and the more you pick, the more it produces. Bonus tip. Train chayote over a sturdy arbor or pergola. You'll create natural shade underneath while the fruits hang down for easy picking. It's productive and beautiful. Vegetable number 19. Malabar spinach. This tropical climber refuses to play by spinach rules. Instead of growing low and bolting fast, Malabar spinach climbs. Its glossy leaves spiral up trellises, fences, and anything else they can grab, creating lush curtains of edible greenery. The leaves are thick, slightly mucilaginous, and stay productive even in the peak of summer when regular spinach has long given up. They're packed with iron, vitamin A, and antioxidants. Once you plant it, the vines reseed themselves naturally. Even if frost knocks them back, they bounce right back with warmth. In tropical and subtropical climates, it's truly perennial. When it flowers, tiny purple blooms add color to your garden walls while the leaves keep coming. Bonus tip. Grow Malabar spinach on the same trellis as beans or peas. They share vertical space efficiently, and the nitrogen-fixing beans feed the spinach naturally. Vegetable number 20. Okinawa spinach. This stunning plant brings both beauty and nutrition to your garden. The leaves are dark green on top and deep purple underneath, creating a striking color contrast that makes it look almost ornamental. But don't let the looks fool you. Okinawa spinach is a powerhouse producer. Once established, it grows year-round in warm climates, spreading gently as a living ground cover. The flavor is subtly tangy, and the leaves are rich in antioxidants and fiber. It's been linked to the famous longevity of Okinawan diets, the same Japanese region known for having some of the world's healthiest, longest-lived people. It doesn't demand attention. Give it partial shade, reasonable moisture, and it spreads naturally, filling spaces with edible beauty. Bonus tip. Plant Okinawa spinach as an edging around raised beds. It softens the appearance while providing constant harvests at arm's reach. Vegetable number 21. Chaya. We saved something truly special for last. Chaya, also called tree spinach, is a plant so productive that it's known as the miracle green in Central America. It looks like a small tree with broad, glossy leaves that shimmer in the sunlight. Once planted, it can live for decades, growing up to 6 or 8 feet tall and producing an endless supply of spinach-like leaves. Unlike most greens, chaya thrives in heat, poor soil, and even drought. It's nearly impossible to kill. Snap a stem, stick it in the ground, and you've started a new plant. It really is that simple. The leaves are loaded with protein, calcium, iron, and vitamins. They are more nutrient-dense than almost any leafy green you can grow. One important note. The leaves must be cooked for about 10 to 15 minutes before eating. This deactivates a mild natural compound, leaving you with tender, earthy-tasting greens perfect for stews, wraps, and omelets. Once chia is in your garden, you'll never run out of greens again. Bonus tip. Grow chia near a compost bin or in rich soil near your kitchen. The convenient location means you'll harvest often, which encourages more growth. So there you have it. 21 vegetables that completely change how you think about your garden. Instead of that exhausting annual cycle of buying seeds, preparing beds, planting, and watching everything die, you invest once and harvest for years, sometimes decades. This is how you build a truly sustainable garden. A garden that works for you instead of you working endlessly for it. Now here's my challenge. Pick 3 of these perennial vegetables. Just 3. Commit to planting them this season, and watch what happens over the next few years as they establish and start producing food without the replanting circus. That's how you transform your garden from an annual expense into a permanent food source. If this video opened your eyes to a completely new way of growing food, do me a huge favor. Share it with a friend who's always complaining about their garden costs or the work involved. You might just change how they think about growing food forever. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we're building a community of smart, practical gardeners who refuse to waste money or effort on things we simply don't need. Drop a comment below telling me which perennial vegetable you're most excited to try. I genuinely read every single comment, and I love hearing from this community. Until next time, keep growing smart, keep growing affordable, and remember, the best gardens are the ones that take care of themselves. I'll see you in the next video.